What in the fuck?
Wrong one.
I need $25 for this walk
There it is.
around sit down chair.
Production.
Watch this.
Good evening. Thank you to those who are joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Very special welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. This is episode 53 of Been Around the Block. We've grown into something we feel like starting to make an impact. And just in the last 90 days, we've been able to reach 2.2 million people. Don't forget to like, share, and follow our page. Continue to be a part of this movement. Our goal of Been Around the Block is to continue our mission to help destigmatize addiction and prove that not only your life won't be boring, but the best years are yet to come. Even if you don't identify with what our mission is, these stories of triumphing over adversity are something we can all identify with. We need to also note that Been Around the Block is in no way associated with, affiliated, nor to endorse any specific program or recovery. Our view is that your story is your story, and there are many ways that people are able to recover their lives from the bondage of addiction. One of our goals is to prove that no matter how we get there, we're all able to live a life that God has intended for each and every single one of us. Without any further ado, my name is Brooks Southard. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Quirky Cliche Name. We also have Christopher Ross on Facebook and Instagram at Christopher. And then our favorite national content creator, Bradley Nemo Sparks. And of course, joining us for episode 53, our good friend Jeremiah Caldwell. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Damn, we already got a comment up there.
Damn.
Marcus Sullivan.
Huh?
Shout out to Marcus.
I was talking to the guy that commented.
Sit fire.
Is there
Yeah.
a latency, bro?
I don't know. Is there?
Issue on your end?
Me?
No. How you doing, Jeremiah?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Good, man.
Really good.
I'm gonna get tired of holding this phone.
Why didn't you get a tripod or something?
I don't know. Chris said hold it.
Bro, how many guys live in that house? Somebody has a
13.
tripod.
No.
Somebody in their head. What?
Here? Wrong house.
All right, well.
So
Jeremiah.
I get to. What do I do? Just
do
tell
it,
my
man.
story.
Yeah.
All right.
Hop in, bro.
Let's just go right into it, man. Tell us what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now.
Perfect. What it was like. Well, what it was like, I guess we can start kind of far back for me, what it was like growing up in a house that was the center hub of a bunch of addiction and pain and suffering. It was my parents were both beautiful people, but you know, back then they didn't spend a lot of time with me. They divorced really early on in my life. My mom kind of like kidnapped me at one point from my father, and I lived down in southeastern Oklahoma for probably 3 years, like kindergarten, first grade time. And there was a lot of really ugly scenes in that little period of time. During that time, though, my father ended up finding recovery, and he got sober, and then my mother brought me back up to the panhandle of Oklahoma where he was living, and just kind of dropped me off again. So I felt as if she didn't want me anymore. But so I grew up with a dad that was sober for most of my childhood, and I didn't know what that was then, but looking back now that I've found some sort of recovery, it's kind of a beautiful thing to see. I went to high school with in Wetumpka, Oklahoma, and then that's where I started using drugs and alcohol because I had to move away from all my friends and all the people that I knew. So I went to Wetumpka as a ninth grader and just found the first group that would accept me as one of them. And
what was the first thing you did? What was the first drug you did?
the first substance that I put in my body was alcohol. We used to steal the beers out of the coolers of the guys who worked as welders and stuff in the little town that we lived in. So we'd walk around the town and we'd take just one out of each one, and then we'd drink them, and then we'd move on to the next working man and get into his cooler, because they always left their coolers in the backs of their trucks back then. So and they always were full of beer. But yeah, that was the first thing I did. And then the second thing, and the thing that I fell in love with first, was marijuana. Marijuana was definitely that escape that I was looking for at the time. When I was in ninth grade, that's what all my friend group did. And I think the first time that I hung out with them, on the first day that I hung out with anyone, they brought a joint out and was like, "This is what we do." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll do that because I want you to accept me." So, it was never a question in my mind. I just did exactly what they did so that I could be a part of that. And that just led, subsequently just got worse and worse. By the time I was 15 years old, I was doing methamphetamines on and off, like on the weekends. And
At 15?
at 15 years old, my mother was in production, so I had access to that. And that the town that I lived in was small, and there was a lot of it available. And so, and that's when that kind of light bulb went off. Like, this is how I want to feel all the time, which is, I mean, it might seem extreme, but to me it wasn't. I mean, and so I dabbled for the first 2 years, and then when I got to be a junior in high school, it became a pretty regular thing. Like, I usually either had methamphetamine or was on my way to hang out with people that did.
Hey, Chris, there's a white kid behind you, bro.
That's
I
my
would run. I would run, dude. It's about as scary as it gets.
Awesome.
Hey, okay, Jeremiah, how old are you, bro?
I'm 42 or 43 years old.
Okay, so we're close to the same age. I remember back then, all my friends. So I didn't start. The first time I ever did meth was 25, but I got into opiates at like 17. So I remember, because you said 15, and what that made me think of was, I remember all my friends in ninth grade, they would have contests to how long they could stay up, like weeks at a time. You know what I'm saying? That was back when the dope.
It was real. It was dope. Yeah.
My friends did that as well. I don't know if it was a conscious choice that they were like having a competition, but they did stay up until they couldn't anymore. And that looked different for each and every one of them. I mean,
whoever stayed up the longest was the coolest. Like, one dude stayed up for like 31 days.
Well, then I was never the coolest guy, because, like, honestly, like, I wasn't the guy that stayed up a lot of days. Like, as soon as I started to feel really like off, I would go home. I would go home and I would sleep, and I would eat. And my dad, bless his heart, he knew exactly what was going on with me. I mean, because he lived that life. He was in and out of prison for that stuff for his whole, early adulthood. So he knew what was happening. He knew who I was hanging with. But I never was like, I even remember one time they called me a hypocrite because I would leave when things would start to get real weird, And so I was always the guy that left when everybody started doing the real weird shit, like the real tweaker shit. Like, I don't know, it never really got me good until recently.
I think our last guest called that window Nintendo, which I like that term. That's pretty good. So
yeah. So I mean, high school was weird. I still excelled at sports and stuff, and in school. Like, it never really took complete control over my life, in the sense of where I started to like turn to crime or turn, to selling drugs or any of that stuff really. Like it was very minor, but I did it often. So like I don't know, for whatever reason, I was able to maintain, I guess would be a loose term to use. But, by the time when I went to college, so I graduated high school and I went to college and I quit all of it. Like I quit the marijuana, I quit everything except for alcohol. So alcohol became my main focus in college because it was the only thing that was universally accepted and that I could get my hands on a daily basis because I had moved to Norman, Oklahoma to go to OU. And I lived with my, at that time, girlfriend, future wife, now ex-wife, all the way through college at OU. But I drank heavily all the way through college.
Heavily.
And
What do
then
you
when
mean?
I mean, every chance I got, like I was drinking daily, even at home. Um, while I would study, I would drink. Obviously, the weekends were just constant parties all weekend long. Football games were constant. It was just, everything was an excuse for me to drink, you know.
But
And
at this
so
time, it's still not a problem, right? It hasn't become a
I
problem.
would I was still going to college. I mean, I was still making good grades. I still, was holding on to the relationship that I had. Like we were still growing as individuals, but like it was a problem looking back now. It was becoming the way that I dealt with every emotion or stressor or anything that I had. Like I would just try to numb it with alcohol, period. Like every feeling that felt wrong or that I didn't like, I would grab a drink. And I just so happened to not get to the point where it destroyed my life then. That came much later in life for me. But I drank my whole life. Like once I entered college, I don't know if there wasn't many days that I didn't drink until I quit when I was 38. That's when I transitioned solely to methamphetamine again, back out of alcohol into methamphetamine. But at that point, I had my own business. I had my own restaurant. I my family was great. I had my first daughter the year that I opened my restaurant. We had our first kid. We were married that entire time. But I'm gonna go back real quick. Something I just thought of when I was 24, and this is probably where the daily drinking and escapism began. Was so it was my final semester of college at OU, and I was about to apply to PA school, which is a physician's assistant school at the University of Health Sciences here in Oklahoma City. Um, and I was about to go home for Thanksgiving break, and I got a phone call the day before I was going to drive back from my then mother-in-law that said, "Your dad has had a heart attack." And I was 24 years old. I was about to go to bed so that I could get up and go hunting with him that next morning. And I get a phone call, and I knew instantly that things weren't okay, right? Like I knew that the way that she was talking, that there was something severely wrong with my dad, that he was probably not alive anymore. I didn't know for sure, but I got in the car, drove down, and sure enough, he had had a fatal heart attack, and that
Mm.
sent me into, I mean, extreme fear of my future, all sorts of things. Well, a month later, I wake up after a night of drinking, and my uncle, my dad's twin brother, is sitting on my bed in my apartment in Norman that he had never been to before. And I remember looking up at him and I said, "Who's dead now?" And I was still a little intoxicated from the night before. And he said, your mom. We found your mom last night. She died of a pulmonary embolism. That's 2 days before Christmas. So 2 days before Thanksgiving, my dad dies. 2 days before Christmas, the very next month, my mom passes away. Both of them, like out of the blue. My dad had been sober for years and years, and my mom was still out using, but she was in decent health, I thought. Um, and that's when things got really dark for me. Um,
You were
and
only
that's when
24, right?
huh?
You were only 24 at that time.
I was 24. Yeah, it was in my
Yeah.
last semester of college. So I immediately dropped out of college because I had excuse. And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I ended up going to culinary school after that, like the next
Uh-oh.
year, and I didn't know how to deal with that or what to do. Like my dad was the only support that I had outside of my then wife. So like I was kind of threw into this whirlwind of fear and chaos, at least mentally speaking. But I continued to do things that normal people do, right? Like I went to culinary school, I got out, I got a job. I ended up owning my own restaurant within like 3 years of graduate or 4 years of graduating culinary school. And that's just kind of like I'm drinking the whole time, but just maintaining, I guess, well enough to actually make progress in life, but still running from everything in my past. So, yeah, and then when I was 38, 30, probably 35, 36, I thought that I was really tired from owning a restaurant, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was like, well, I know what I can do. I can get energy from somebody that I know. And I called a friend of mine and I got methamphetamine. And from that day on, I didn't drink. I didn't do anything except for, use methamphetamine. And I stayed up and going in that mode for 2 more years. And then we closed the restaurant down. I closed my restaurant in 2019. It was right before COVID hit. My wife left because I came clean and said, I'm addicted to methamphetamine. Things are getting bad. I don't know what to do. And she said, well, I know what I'm going to do. Get the kids as far away from you as possible because
So, okay, how many kids do you have at this time, and how long had you had your business?
so I'd had my business for 8 or going on 9 years.
Oh,
And
that's good. Wow.
yeah,
Whole time
so I was
drinking.
able to hold it together kind of, but I was still emotionally completely didn't deal with anything, any traumatic event. Like since my parents died, like I'd been pretty much numbing myself in some way ever since then. But that's when I turned to the thing that I needed at the time, which was something that was stronger, right? Something that was a little bit more medicated for me, that I could still function at work on because I couldn't drink at work. Like I could drink a little bit at work, but like my guys wouldn't have had that. They wouldn't have allowed that to happen for long. So I had to find something to do that no one knew that I was doing, and that ended up being methamphetamine. And yeah, I lied to my wife for 2 years. She had no idea. And about the end of the second year of me being on methamphetamine, um, the restaurant dissolved and we closed it. And I decided to come clean to her. And she said, "We're leaving. You got to get your shit together." And I just went the opposite way. I remember looking at her and saying, "I will never stop using drugs and alcohol till the day that I die." And she said, "Okay, well, until you get help, we can't be a part of your life." And so that was really rough, man. Like that sent me into a feeling of unworthiness like I've never felt before. And I just turned just heavy into drugs. Um, Daily basis, brought it into the home that I was living in, trying to fix up to sell after the family, after the divorce. And so we got a divorce. My kids at the time of the divorce were 4 and 8. And yeah, two girls, beautiful, amazing girls. And she took them to a safe place back home where we were from in Wetumpka, Oklahoma. And she sat down with like her whole family lives there. So she had a support system. And then I just went and did my thing, which was not good. I mean, I ended up like within a year period of time, I went from owning a home, owning a business, having two beautiful kids, a successful marriage, a lot of kind of friends, to gambling daily, homeless, working at Mazio's Pizza as a as an employee and living in my car. And I did that for an entire year. And I remember she would bring the girls up to see me, and she would pick me up from my car on Main Street, and I would get in with them, and we'd go do the visit. Like, just really, really, at the time, just full of shame and guilt and remorse and all the things, but
Did your kids
unable to
know
quit.
you was living in your car? Did your kids know you was living in your car at that time?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she was never one to be dishonest with the kids. I mean, they were worried sick. The kids, like, they had no idea like what was involved in me living in my car. They just knew that when they came to see dad, they had to pick me up from my car because that was my house. That was where I was living. Yeah, on Main Street in Norman, Oklahoma. I lived there for a year in my car. Um, I held a job most of that time, but I was just destroying myself a little bit further each day. What happened? What happened was, let's move into what happened. What happened was, I ended up getting a job as a private chef for a beautiful family that I had met somewhere along the way, and they needed someone to come and watch their house and take care of stuff while they went on vacation, and I did that. When they got back, the patriarch of the family was diagnosed with the ALS, and they needed someone to help them out while he was deteriorating, and he was deteriorating rapidly. And so I stayed on the property there and continued to be the private chef for them and did their yard and all that stuff. Like, I maintained their property and all that. And then he made it 6 months, and then he passed away. And then things got really crazy. Like, I had nowhere to go. I didn't have a job anymore. Like, the people I was working for, she ended up finding out that I had been dishonest a little bit along the way with some of the responsibilities. Like, I had overused them and their resources to the point where she felt like she couldn't trust me to live there anymore after he passed away. And so she basically said, "You have to leave, you have to go." And she had a lot of grieving to do also, but, like, that's when I said, I don't know what to do. And I kind of said a little prayer, like that classic prayer, "God, please help me. Like, I have nowhere to go. I have no one that loves me. I finally have nothing." It just took me a really long time to get there, like, and so I reached out to a bunch of rehab facilities, and a couple of them called me back. And so I ended up going to a 90-day treatment facility, Country Road in Oklahoma, which wasn't far from where I lived. And that was a trip. That's the first time that I ever admitted that I had a problem. Like, I literally, maybe never even to myself, admitted that I had a problem, because I'd been able to string together some success in my life. So I thought that I wasn't the same as everyone else, right? Like, everyone else burns their life to the ground or all this, but eventually I did that. Like, I totally ended up in that place that everyone ends up, or that a lot of people that I know now end up in that complete, desperate, like, all alone, nowhere to go, no one to help feeling. And so I somehow ended up reaching out to a rehab facility that accepted me, and I went there for 90 days, and I met a lot of amazing people that cared about me, and I found a
I gotta
community.
ask, and I'm sorry
Yeah,
because our viewers, some people may be watching that might need to get in rehab. And you said you were homeless working at Mazio's. Obviously, you didn't have insurance, right?
nope.
Okay.
I didn't,
What
and I didn't have insurance working for the family privately either. Like, I was just being paid. Like,
what would you say to people who that's their concern? You know,
I would say, don't let that keep you from reaching out for help, because the people in the rehab facilities can figure out a way to link you up. Like the community is huge, right? Like we know there's a lot of people out there in all walks of life, and so they were able to get me in contact with somebody that was able to get me insurance, and I got insurance, and I was able to be accepted. Like, and it was fast, it was quick, it was like within days of asking for help. It was like the cavalry rode in, right? Like every worry that I had, every excuse that I had been using and telling myself for, really for years, that I wouldn't be able to get help if I wanted help because I was a single male, that didn't have a home or a car or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. People are out there to help us. It's their job, like,
So, Nemo, when you went to 12 and 12, did you have insurance?
I did. So I had a really good welding job. I was
Being unique one. Because I never had insurance when I went to rehab. I gone twice.
But check this out. So I had gotten fired from that job a couple of weeks prior. Like my life was literally going downhill fast. I'd gotten fired, and not only did I get fired, they told me to grab my welding helmet and they escorted me off the property. Like they wouldn't let me just walk out by myself.
Oh yeah.
So I walked straight to the liquor store, and I think I had like $3 on me, enough to buy like a pint of McCormick's or a half pint of the cheapest vodka you can get. And I drank myself into a blackout and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I still had that insurance card when I went to rehab a couple weeks later, and I didn't know if it was going to work. And they ended up, you know how 12 and 12 had they had the detox upstairs for like the rich people that had insurance.
Yeah.
You remember that? And then you had the state detox downstairs.
That's the one I went to. But yeah.
Well, they let me because I was detoxing off Suboxone, alcohol, and benzos. They let me, I did not tell them that I was detoxing off Suboxone because I knew they would just give it to me there, and I didn't want it. So I stayed there for 9 days in the detox, and then they came and got me and said my insurance was no good anymore, and they keep me down to the state level.
So one thing I want to say is like, if you reach out to someone like Country Roads is really good about this. Like, you reach out to them whenever you even if you don't have insurance, if you're trying to find a place to go, Country Roads, you call that place, they're going to try to find a place for you to go. They're going to put you in contact with the right people to get you where you need to be. Insurance doesn't matter. You could be broke. You could be homeless. You could be living on the side of the street. You got people like Amanda and Cameron that show up and they show out and they make sure that they get people in places where they need to be. Whenever I was working there, we helped tons of people that weren't even coming to our facility. We'd send people to other states. We send people to other facilities. We give them state ran facilities. We give them, if their insurance wasn't covered by our facility, we'd put them in touch with the facility where they are covered by.
And that's what's great about Oklahoma is like we have a really solid and good recovery community, like Jeremiah was talking about. It really is that simple here in Oklahoma. Like I always tell people, because the three main concerns that people have when they're getting in rehab is I have a good job and I can't leave it. Another concern is, well, what am I going to do about my girlfriend or my boyfriend who's also strung out, but they don't want to get clean? And then another concern is my family. I'm the head of the household. What are they going to do without me? And those are really, they're valid concerns. But I always tell people, man, if you take that step to bettering your life, to becoming the person that you were created to be, God's going to take care of all that stuff you're worried about. It's you take that first step and then watch miracles happen. All those things you were worried about, you're going to start seeing get taken care of, and you're going to be like, whoa, man. And it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen until you take that first step, And it goes with the same concerns of not being able to get into rehab because you think you have no insurance, but like Jeremiah said, just make that call to them. They're gonna find you some resources and get you in there.
Right. And I didn't even know that I needed insurance to get it. Like I literally had never even researched rehabilitation. I was dead set not gonna ever stop,
Right.
and then whatever happened happened, and I just had a thought that was like, I need help. Who can help me? I've all of my relationships with the people that really cared about me, I had abandoned them because of shame and guilt. Now looking back, I see the pattern, but like, and some of them people just didn't want to be a part of it anymore because I had used them up. And I started doing a little bit of research online, and I was like, I just got to call these places and reach out. And so I sent like probably, I would say 20 to 25 emails out to different facilities, in state, out of state. I mean, I sent emails to facilities in Hawaii, like Sweden. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I didn't even know if anybody was going to call me back or anything, and after a couple of days, I started getting calls and I started getting emails, and they're like asking me questions, and they're like, we can figure out a way if you're serious, like to get you in here, and then they gave me phone numbers to call, and I just was willing to follow through because I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of times we have a moment where we want help, right? We need help so bad. And then the next day, it's like, well, I'm doing all right. Like
Maybe
I
I was
don't need to go to
overreacting.
rehab, like,
Yeah,
you know. So
do that a
just
lot.
follow through. You have to follow through. You got to pick up the phone when they call you. They call you back because they're going to call you back and they're going to have resources for you, and they're going
Well,
to need you to do certain things.
dude, and there's so many cases like this was my experience with 12 and 12 in Tulsa. If you're not calling them, like I said, you got to show some initiative that you want something, and it is kind of a small window that you're given. But I mean, if
Yeah,
you know,
it
but you
feels
got to
very
jump
small,
on those. Yeah,
right? And what's crazy is like Country Road for me, they called me back. They were one of the places that called me back. They were the only in-state place that called me back. And she continued to call me every day for 4 days in a row until I got a hold of the people that they had for me to get a hold of. Like they made contact with me every day until I was there at the facility. Like literally every day they reached out to me and was like, "Have you done this? What's the status? Do you still want to come?" Like we don't have a bed initially, and then I ended up like when we first talked, they were like, "Well, we weren't going to have a bed available for you for like another 2 weeks," and I was like, "I don't got 2 weeks. I'm going to have to try to go somewhere
yeah.
else," And then they called me back 2 days later, and she's like, we could have a bed available as early as Tuesday. And then the next day she called and she said, we have a bed available today. Would you like to come today? And I was like, I didn't want to, but I said I would go, and I ended up waiting at one day to go, and I did laundry and stuff. But like, it was really quick, man. And I was just amazed by how fast it happened for me. And then once I was in there, it was like, the classic stuff, classes and stuff. There was really a lot of conforming to rules and regulations and procedures that I had never had to do. Like I always found a way to set my own procedures and control like every aspect of my life, and I had rules to follow and times to get up and classes to go to and all of these things. But I did them because I wanted to be there. I needed to change my life, and they gave me an opportunity, and I decided that I should probably do what they say, do what they ask. And so I've been doing that ever since, really doing what people have suggested that I do. And I never thought I would be that guy. So
So you show up to Country Roads. Shout out to Country Roads.
shout out,
You
beautiful
got
place.
you got nothing but you're living in your car at this time still.
Well, I'm living in a studio apartment in a horse barn on the back end of a property of a family that is going through extreme tragedy.
Wait,
So
you say
I'm not.
an apartment in a horse barn?
Yeah. So like so it's a horse barn, and they converted half of it to a studio apartment, so that their daughters could live in it while they went to college or whatnot. But it hadn't been lived in a while. But that's where they let me stay. So it's just a little studio apartment. Half of the barn is an apartment. Half of the barn there's a horse and hay and all the stuff. Like that was part of my job, was taking care of the horse. So
So when you showed up, you didn't have all those worries. You know, what about my family? What about my job? What about, those worries that everybody usually has? It's like,
no, I had chosen drugs and alcohol over all of that. I literally had nothing. Like, and
you
I
were,
only had one bag of clothes.
yeah,
What
that's
was
a
that?
good position to be in. You're rock bottom is a great position to be in when we're trying to make this change.
It's the only place where I was able to even admit that I might need help. So that
Right.
had to happen. I had to lose every single thing that was important to me, that I was scared to death my whole life of losing, in order to finally reach out and ask for aid or help or whatever. So like I was there. I had no one. I had nothing. Um, yeah, I had a couple friends that we all did drugs together. Like I had a community, all right, but the community was like destroying ourselves. Like that's what that's what our motto was, I guess. Like we just destroyed ourselves together, and I
I
needed a
remember.
community.
I
Go ahead.
remember whenever you first got there. Like I remember you, Jeremiah. Me and you developed a really good relationship with each other throughout the whole time that you were there. You were broken,
Yeah,
but you
I was completely out of confidence. Everything I tried failed. Everything that I did ended up failing in the long run. And yeah, I had to start listening to people. And you were there. You had a story that was powerful, and you had a heart that was huge. And I just remember, you hugging me and saying, "I'm glad you're here." Like there's help for you if you want it. And
Hold on, Jeremiah. You
that
keep
was
breathing, bro. Okay, there we go.
uh-oh.
And sorry, I was
Yeah,
laughing,
I
and it's
mean,
a good time to laugh.
It's a horrible time to laugh, bro.
yeah, real funny, bro.
The
Real
way
funny. I'm at rock bottom. Is
he
that
was
where
like,
we were? I was at rock
That's
bottom.
hilarious. Yeah, you are.
It is funny now looking back at the shape I was in, like, because that's not the case anymore. But
So that is what Nemo was laughing at. Okay, just wondering.
yeah,
I wasn't laughing at it. Whatever, yeah.
yeah, he was laughing at my life. Yeah.
So what is life like today, man? You go through your 90 days, and what did you learn?
Oh my gosh. I learned that I had a solution that wasn't working. Um, I had a solution that I was using to run from the things I was feeling, and the things that my old beliefs and stuff, and that I learned that nothing that I thought was true was true. I learned so many things about myself and about the way that I saw the world and the way that I used other people. And like it was my entire life. I used you or a substance or a situation or a business or a job title or anything I could get my hands on to prove to the world that I was worthy. I used it, and I used it up until it was gone every single time, and all of it disappeared after a while, um, until I had nothing to show that I was worthy, and I needed someone to teach me how to live in a way that was like where I could rebuild that stuff, but also give me another solution that I could use as a foundation to build my life on again, because everything I built on my own crumbled and failed. So that's what I found at treatment. Really was just a community. It was I I realized that there was a community that was so much bigger than anything that I had been a part of, and that community was a spiritually based community, and that I had to figure out how to start to incorporate um, a spiritual way of life into my day-to-day actions. And that's what I learned. And then when I got out of treatment, I went into sober living, Better Together, and I'm still here. It's been 11 months. And I just built upon the things that I learned, and I found a new relationship with my creator, my source, God. I use all those terms interchangeably now. Like, I have a giant God for all of my giant problems, and I talk to him, whatever, her daily, and it's really the focal point of my life now is how can I help other people, and what can I become so that God can use me in a way to help others. And that has become my mission. Like, that's my purpose. It doesn't matter how it looks to me in the details, the particulars, like what my job is, where I live, what people call me. Like, none of that really matters to me because I found a purpose. Like, my purpose is to help others find freedom from pain and guilt and shame and all of the things that we struggle with. Like, and
So
however that happens, I'm open.
dude, this is something I always recommend to people. If somebody, so you said this is the first time you're getting sober, would you recommend sober living to people?
Man, when I was in rehab and that they would come in and bring meetings in the sober houses, I was like, this is all the proof that I need that this is all a money game. This is all them trying to fill up a house. Like, they send their best guys out here to pretend like they're doing good and all this stuff. But after about 60 days, right, I started to realize that a couple of the groups that came in, the guys were actually sharing with an open heart, and I could recognize that because I had actually been sober for long enough to have some clarity about me, right? Like, I didn't immediately judge you when you walked in the door. I actually was like looking to get to know you. And so, like, I started listening to the people, and then my counselors all suggested that I go to sober living. And all of my friends, like, I call them friends now, all of the administrators, every single person in the facility I was in said you should go to sober living. And I was like, I finally
Hmm.
ran out of excuses of why I shouldn't, and I committed to come. If you're looking for a way to transition out of a rehabilitation and into a new situation where you can start your life again and have people around you that are also trying to do that, plus begin to get plugged into a greater community that is for the betterment of all of humanity, but really for people that are struggling with drugs and alcohol, then I think sober living is a necessity to get away from your people, places, and things, right? That you are comfortable with. Like, I don't know. There's no way I would still be on the show or doing things that I'm doing right now in my life if it wouldn't have been for me coming into sober living and getting involved in the community of the recovery community. Period. Like, it led me to a safe place where I could admit all of my worst secrets, right? And with guys who could also do that, and it just becomes like a brotherhood, and you're unified in your goal, and it gives you confidence and strength, and so many beautiful things in sober living for me. Um, so yeah, sober living is probably the second. It's just the second stage. It was the second stage. Well, third stage. First stage was being hopeless, desperate, with nothing, addicted to drugs and alcohol. Second would be recovery center, like a rehabilitation facility, hospital, institution, whatever you want to call it. And the third stage was sober living for me. And then that has prepared me to move, hopefully in time, move out of sober living and be able to live my life in a sober way. Um, without reverting to my old ways, which were a
What does
solution.
what does your fourth stage look like? Where do you see yourself in a year?
So what's crazy is about 6 months ago, the leader of our Sober Living Foundation asked that question to me in a meeting, and I remember saying I would like to be in administration or head of a department at a rehabilitation facility so that I could um, help other people in the best capacity I could. Well, this week I actually started that job. Like I actually got hired as a head of a department at the rehabilitation center that I went to for treatment at Country Road. So I'm there and I am working as the chef there now. This is my first week on the job. So like now I have to choose a different goal, I guess. Like I just want to be a more full expression of what my higher power is, man. Like I want to continue to work on all of the spiritual things that have got me here. Like I wouldn't mind still being in sober living, like managing a house or whatever, but I also can see myself in my own place or possibly with my own recovery, situation where I house other drug addicts and alcoholics. I mean, I don't know, but that's whatever I can do to help as many people as possible that's what I'm open to. And I think God has really moved in my life and will continue to do so as long as I let go of what I think needs to happen. I mean, it's been miraculous for me. Like I have a relationship with my kids that is open and absent of shame and guilt. I have a relationship with their mom now, my ex-wife, who is married to a guy who is also in recovery. Um, he's got like 20 years sober. Like I couldn't ask for a better situation for my kids, a better, co-parent for her than somebody that's in this program or this community. And I've made I've repaired relationships with people that I thought would never talk to me again. I got a job that 12 months ago was my dream job, right? Like now I have it. Like now it's time to open myself up for God to move again and put me where he wants me. And I'll stay here until that happens. Like, like I've really tried to surrender over control, man. Like I feel like it's the key for me is to surrender everything that I think I need and take suggestion and advice from people that have multiple years of sobriety, that have success in their careers, that have, you know, the things that I want, which really isn't a whole lot, honestly. I want a place to live. I want to be able to help people for a living. I want to be involved in a community that is for the greater good of the world. And I'm there now, and I know that it's only going to get better and better the longer that I can stay sober and clean and listen to other people's advice.
Amen.
Hell yeah. Hey, I want to throw a comment up there, man. This guy just commented, his name David and Sarah Refner. 53 days off Suboxone here, man. Man. I mean, my hat's off to you, dude.
He says, I didn't know this level of recovery existed. Thank you for your content.
Awesome.
So awesome.
David,
yeah, man.
When that gave me chills, bro.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I needed to mention that just because, like, I mean, I think everybody knows where we stand on that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's Sarah. It's Sarah. Sorry, we was confused. I thought Sarah was your middle name.
Oh,
David, Sarah.
and then Coach McKaylee. But
Sarah.
Yeah, dude, that's so awesome, dude.
Suboxone for 53 days. I absolutely love this. If you know anything about my content or watch my content, you know my views on Suboxone. I don't condemn people on it. I'm not.
Yeah.
My thing is, I don't think it should be used any longer than a detox period. I can't stand that doctors put people on it and keep them on it for multiple years. I think that drugs stunts your growth mentally, and I think Suboxone is no different. So the fact that I mean, her words right there, 53 days off Suboxone. I didn't know this level of recovery existed.
That's just 53 days.
Right.
Yeah, just wait, Sarah. It gets way better.
Oh God, yeah.
You're gonna feel feelings.
Oh, wow.
You're gonna see colors. I mean, it is
You
so
can taste colors and smell feelings, and
it is so amazing when you are off Suboxone after being on it for so long.
it really is, man. Man, so I never was on Suboxone, but the methadone thing. Oh my God, yeah. I mean, we've had that discussion before. I'm not gonna go back into that. That shit's yeah. So you guys know where I stand on that. So we had a question for you, and you'd asked me this when we've been texting this week. What if I don't have? You want to throw the question up there, Chris? So the question is, how do you incorporate loved ones into your spiritual prayer life? How you would interpret this however you want. We've talked about this. This may not be 100% applicable, but read it however you want. What's your answer
No,
for that?
well, it absolutely is. And initially I thought, my old way of thinking, like, I don't have any loved ones because I don't have a wife or a spouse, but that's not. I have more loved ones in my life today than I ever have before. And I actually get to love the people that are my loved ones. But as far as prayer is concerned, prayer is this, man, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And the way that I incorporate the people that I love into my prayer is, I don't know, man. I just pray. I pray that they have peace of mind. And I also, I guess what I really do is I bring them to mind a lot, and I just feel gratitude and appreciation toward the people that I love. Like, I appreciate all of their little, you know, the things sometimes that annoy me, but like that bring levity to the room, or like I really try to concentrate on the people that I love and see the parts of them that are godlike. Their compassion, their willingness, their ability to surrender. Like, I just bring them to mind, and I pray that they get everything that God has in store for them. If that, I pray for sobriety sometimes for people, but I also pray for people that you may not consider loved ones, like people that I have problems with, or that I have, resentments toward. Like, and that has been probably one of the most powerful parts of my recovery, is watching my opinion and my perception of certain people change through prayer, by just praying for what I want to happen for them, which in the end is just peace and love and joy, and the ability to share that with as many people as I possibly can. But yeah, man, prayer is one of my favorite things. Prayer and meditation are at the top of my list for things that have brought me the most self-awareness, and helped me see things that I can change about myself. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of because there's been some good conversations, and man, and this is also kind of what we're trying to be about here. Is, man, let's root each other on, man. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not. We're not against each other. We're all in the same boat here, man. And that's the thing. Recovery takes many different shapes and forms. I'm gonna throw this comment up here. This was so Sarah, who was mentioning she's 53 days off Suboxone. She said she had to leave my state and go somewhere that didn't take my insurance for 90 days, recommended medical detox. And I wish I would have done it. I have a supportive husband, which only made it through. I mean, I didn't have energy to move for weeks. And that's one thing, like coming off stuff like that. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
right.
And it's, don't, again, none of us are doctors or anything like that, man. But Ashley said this: I want to detox off Suboxone so bad, man. Go talk to your doctor, man. Have an honest conversation with them, and say, hey, this isn't work. Like I said, I think and Nemo both came off of the stuff the hard way. which I should have never been on in the first place.
I don't recommend getting arrested and going to prison, guys.
Jailhouse detox sucks.
I don't either.
Detox sucks. I mean, so man, yeah, just have an honest conversation with your doctor, man. Just tell them. And if that doctor's saying, well, no, we're trying to keep, you can go to a different doctor.
And
man.
if you got any questions about anything like that, just put it in the comments or message one of us. We will point you in the right direction. It's one of those things that, I got sober in jail. I was still using and everything. Suboxone made me probably worse than I was whenever I was on it.
Well, and there's so many other drugs that are not narcotic that are used to block those receptors and stuff like that they use for like alcohol withdrawal and stuff like that. And again, we're not doctors. I just know that there's other options that can shut down that craving and stuff like that without you having to have opiates in your system. Like I said, it's Nemo said this famously, but trading a monkey on your back for a gorilla, and it's not frowned upon as much because it's legal and it's being prescribed by the doctor. So, and Jeremiah, you got your question for next week, which was, what's the most memorable experience with forgiveness during your recovery? That's such a good question. I'm going to do a shout out to McKaylee real quick before she leaves. Phone about to go bed. Love you too, McKaylee. Glad you're tuning in with us. And then Jacob says, proud of you, Jeremiah. So,
aw, Jacob.
Shout out John Hill too.
Yep, John Paul Hill. So, and I got one more.
Guys. Those are my loved ones. So,
you guys, yeah, hell yeah. So I'm gonna throw this other comment. David Schwartz, been on Suboxone almost 10 years. It saved me at the time. I'm a single father with 2 energetic boys. Trying to come off this seems impossible right now. Who will watch my boys, etc. Suboxone is my last hurdle. There's been one thing keeping me from getting sick. The sickness of these withdrawals scare me. I would be worthless to my children. I'm going to tell my doctor I want a completely sober life. I want it so bad. I quit the hard stuff. I do not drink, smoke, or do drugs. And I'm sure it went a little bit further than that. I think we were just out of characters. But yeah, man, just talk to your doctor. They do tapers. I mean, they take a Hippocratic oath to look out for your health and safety, and if that doctor's not looking out for that, and at the end of the day, then get a different doctor, man.
I don't know how old you are, David, but I know that my mother, when she died on methadone, but she used it for 14 years, and her thing was she was so scared because she was on it from like 41 all the way to 55.
Damn.
By the time she was in her 50s, she was scared to death because of how old she was.
Yeah.
So I think the younger you are, the easier it's going to be for you. And I think that you can, I would take that step, now, before it gets to that point where you're too old, and your body can't handle the withdrawals like it can when you're younger. But
and I've seen, and I've seen people, 42, that's not too old. Man, I've seen guys come off alcohol who've drank every day for 40 years and do it, so you got talking about a 60-year-old guy doing it. So, I mean, alcohol will kill you. Whereas something like Suboxone can be medically monitored and you could be tapered off and stuff like that. So, man, this has been a great episode, Jeremiah. Obviously didn't know what to expect. We never do, but man, that was really good, dude. Thank you very much for sharing your story with the family and all that stuff. And it's been cool watching you from the sidelines. I don't know if you remember, I took a meeting out to your facility, I think once or twice while you were out there.
I remember you were one of the groups that I really fell in love with. I knew. I felt like you guys had the solution I was looking for, and it turns out that you did. And I thank you guys for allowing me to be part of it, because, like I said, all I want to do is be the light, that I've found in my life, and share it with other people so that they can have hope for themselves, because there is a solution out there. It's all available. You just have to ask and seek it out a little bit. Seek and you will find. All the cliched sayings, they're all true.
Yeah, they are. Well, and that's what it's all about, man. Giving back, man. When I got sober, man, 4 years on Saturday, God willing, but it's that's not what my intention was. It wasn't going to be to give back. It was just take care of me. And then lo and behold, that's what's saved my life, is being able to give back to people. So, Nemo, you want to do your shout outs, homie?
I do. So, like always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for commenting. Marcus Sullivan, shout out Becca Rhodes, Carol Calabrese, Craig Sparks, Nate Hardgroves, Aaron Ermine, Berlin Robinson II, Scott Pierce, Tishawn Owens, Sarah Sunnydays, Jared Norris, Joseph Morales, Nancy Vanderblomen. Sorry if I got that wrong, y'all. If I get your last names wrong, I do apologize. Chris Johnson, Richard Strauss, Drew Peters. Did you say I did good on that one?
I'm not even looking at it today. I'm not going to fact check you, bro. So you just do your thing. I'm waiting for the music.
You know, anybody ever tell you that you really do have a voice for radio, man?
So that's a nice way of saying you're ugly, bro. I got it. It's cool.
His voice
I have been told that before, not in this context, but yes, I have been told that before.
McKaylee Thompson, love you, girl. John Paul Hill.
Love you, John.
Sarah, I'm going to shout out your husband also, David. Congratulations on 53 days off Suboxone.
Oh, yeah.
From Suboxone. I love that. That's powerful.
That's so good.
Trina Cook. Hi, baby girl. You want to shout out these people with me? No, you want to shout them out? All right. Say Sarah.
What you doing?
Shout out Ashley Carter and Katrina Cook. I think I said Katrina. Bam, 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 bam. I got them all. Jacob, love you, bro. All right, guys. I got to pee really bad.
Yeah, I'm there too. I'm going to just do my last little thing. So check it out. The new Daniel Card album is going to be out in about a month and a half. If you guys want to come, we're playing at the Okie State Room this weekend. And coming up soon, we're going to be live in person. So here's a little tidbit from the new album.
Oh, shout out Clayton Morgan. Shout out Clayton Morgan.
Damn.
That's one of my favorites, bro.
Yeah, it's coming up on the new album. The producer did a much better job than what I did. It's gonna be awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. When will we be back, Chris? When will we be back?
We will be back. I don't know. But
We'll figure it
we're
out.
working towards the new things, and we're trying to get everything together. So we're trying to do it as soon as possible. We might have a guest or two on in between.
Cool, man.
But we're working on it.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Jeremiah, my pleasure,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
We will talk to you guys hopefully soon.